There is emerging on the face of the earth a new human, an infinite human, and that infinite human is you. Join Elizabeth Monroy weekly for enlightening discussions, multi-dimensional journeys, profound meditations, and empowering visualizations as we co-create the new consciousness renaissance together with other blossoming infinite human beings who are shifting the old paradigms of our broken, fragmented, finite 3D Earth and alchemizing it into a more expansive, unified, loving, infinite reality by reclaiming their true divine infinite power within as the co-creators of the new infinite Earth. Join us weekly for the Infinite Human Talk Show, hosted by Elizabeth Monroy.
Hello, my divine infinite human family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Infinite Human Talk Show, and we're having infinite conversations. I'm Elizabeth Monroy, I'm your host, and today I wanted to talk to you about some of the powerful energies and the Antares Stargate. That is a portal that is opened, and that is the brightest star. It's one of the 4 royal stars in our hemisphere, in our sky, and it's in the heart of Scorpio. And it's opened a portal yesterday, and this is, I would almost say, a portal of grace because it allows you. And ironically, I've been with my star family, and I've been going there, and I didn't even know the name of the star. I was like, what is the star? What is our Effie star? You know, what is our original star that we were born from? And I got the name Antares. But I wasn't, I'm not a big, astrologist or anything. I didn't know all about it. And then after going there, I was told that its main signal is creativity. It is just, and every star has a different kind of signal or just emanation about it, but it was all just pure creation and creativity, and which really resonated with me. So, and I was absorbing a lot of those frequencies and those intentions. And then it started coming up all over the place, and I started reading more about it. And apparently it's a place where many souls have been known to go when they're finishing up with one life. And we certainly are at a closure of many lives in this powerful year, and I referred to it as the year from hell, 2025, because it's in numerology it's 9, and I just wrote a newsletter about it on my website, www.infohuman.com, all about this and about how we have had to purge and let go of all the lower frequencies, all our old stories, all the things that have been holding us back. And when I wrote about that in January, in theory it sounded beautiful, but living through it is another thing, and we've all been living it. And I've been listening to you, those of us that are the first wave, those of us who are who contracted to come here to be the founders of the new earth, the co-creators of the new earth. And so we're the new leaders, and we're going to hit the pavement running in January, because that's the year 2026, and it's in numerology, it's number 1, meaning new beginnings. And in the Chinese astrology, this was a year of the snake, and I think a lot of us can identify with that. And shedding the skin, of course, also of the snake. And now we're moving into the year of the horse. And horses, as Peter and I wrote in our book, The Infinite Human. If you haven't got it, get a copy of it. You can get it in Ingram. I'm locked out of Amazon, but you can also get it on Amazon too. But horses are timelines. So you want to get, a really good horse. You want to get, a thoroughbred or a warm blood. You want to get on the highest timeline. You don't want to settle for, an old nag or, a jackass when you can be riding, a Frisian. Okay. So that's what we're doing. We're getting positioned so we can be on the highest timeline, and we can be the highest essence of ourselves. And last night I put some feelers out because, oh my God, it came through to me, the root chakra. It was like all of my fears, all of my survival issues, all of my, just insecurities and we're coming out. We're like, literally purging, and I was feeling it, no matter what I could do, I just couldn't seem to, relax that, that tight ass, or whatever you want to call the sphincter, that you feel in your root chakra, because that is survival. And we have been victimized, living in survival mode, living in a sea of fear, a planet that is fear-based for so long, and we've just become so used to it. And I was actually afraid of letting go of my fear. It was like a hall of mirrors. I'm afraid of being afraid of being afraid of being afraid, of not being a victim. So and then this morning I did a very interesting meditation where I went back to Antares and, met Altera, someone who was there and kind of serving as, I guess, a coach, a guide. And she was telling me how much I loved being a martyr, being a victim, and victim martyr. A martyr to me is just a glorified victim, and I have loved it. In fact, my whole book was about, me challenging the underdog causes and always fighting, for this and that. And I think, we've gotten very comfortable in that position because it's safe. You might say, well, it's not safe because, we've been boiled and burned and hung and beheaded and all that stuff, but yet isn't it kind of safe because you always know you're going to get slapped down, so sometimes you just don't even try, and it's like you just stay in your bed cozy, curled up in the fetal position sometimes with like crystals pressed to your forehead. You can find me doing that a lot. But and because wow, what if you really just shed that skin, that snake skin of victimization, of martyrdom, and put your feet forward and started to step into your destiny? And Carl Jung, I'm sure you all are familiar with his work, a brilliant, ahead of his time, extra-psychiatrist. And he said that until we make the unconscious conscious, and the unconscious, according to psychiatry, is about 90%, someone told me 95%, I can believe it, of things that control you that you have no awareness of. So until you become aware, we're all becoming aware of this underbelly, dark, shadowy programming that's been running your life. I say there's someone that has hacked into your hologram and they've stolen the pen from you writing your own story, and they're scribbling their story, of what they want you to be like, victims, and in misery. So until you have made that unconscious conscious, according to Carl Jung, then fate, will rule you. You'll have bad things happen to you and you'll call it fate. But when you make that consciousness, when you make that subconscious conscious, when you become aware of all aspects of you and how you are creating your own reality, then you step into your destiny. So this is the time where we step into our destiny. And I was listening to a new tarot card reader on YouTube. I really like her, Venus Return. Shout out to her. She's very intuitive, and she's just very simple. And her stuff is just resonated with me. You have to find your right person, but in the reading of the cards I picked, it was just that your destiny is going to happen. And when she was saying that, I actually almost began to cry because I was just kind of expressing and purging all the fears of my little child, little Elizabeth, my inner child, of being afraid, because, so many times we're so afraid of getting, knocked down, locked out, shunned, bullied, all the things. We put so much energy, I know I have, into being the change and doing it different. And we're just thinking it's going to happen again. And it's actually almost comforting to know it's going to happen, because actually getting out there and being the change and doing something different is new, and it's uncomfortable, and it's scary. So, our root chakras are like, I'm wearing red today because of that. But, so being the change, it's scary, but it's coming up for us. So that's why I think there's been so much fear being held in the root chakra of releasing that survival mode and allowing ourselves to become wealthy and not have to, work and do something we hate and worry about, hand to mouth, paying the rent, or, being able to get our food, on the table, the kind of, Neanderthal survival, and really being able to express ourselves, our creativity, our uniqueness, our authenticity. That time is coming, and sometimes, in the reading too, I was noticing that sometimes we stay in places just because they're familiar. Maybe we stay with the old people that we've known for many lifetimes. Maybe I was dealing with my bank, stockyards, in Louisville, Kentucky, because I knew the woman there, and she was so great to me. She made the bank just wonderful because she was helping me on a personal level, and she's out on getting a medical leave, getting a surgery. So I had to deal with someone who didn't know what to do and didn't want to help me and disconnected me and left me unable to get into my account, my money. So, that's, oh my God, survival. And, but a dear friend of mine, Susan, said something to me about you're outgrowing it. You're outgrowing this. So true, I have to scramble and, do some, shifting around. But the point is, when you stick around places that are just familiar because it's comfortable, because the routine, you can sit at that table, or if you drive down that road, you're going to go there, and the people around you, it's familiar, it's comfortable. And I see that a lot in Sicily because some people just never leave their little villages here. But the thing is, you're going to find yourself around people that tolerate you, they don't celebrate you. People that are small-minded, people that don't have the vision or the creativity or the imagination that you do. And they're going to look at you as weird, as different, as insane, as has been probably most of our lives, But now, if we have the courage to leave the cocoon and spread our wings, we're going to start finding people that are so excited about us being who we are, and we don't have to mask it or hide it or try to fit in, like a square peg into a round hole, or a round hole, whatever, because we're going to be able to just say what we're thinking, and relax and let out a breath, and it's not like it's going to be criticized. In fact, it's not even going to fall on deaf ears. It's going to be picked up by someone that says, wow, I understand that, and blah, 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 and builds it. And I'm sure you all have had these kind of conversations. I've had them on my talk show. I started this talk show just so I could get some people like that who, you're just so excited. You almost finish each other's sentences. You really enjoy each other's company, and you build on the visions that you have. You might start off somewhere, and then someone else says, yeah, but we could do this and this and this and this. Before you know it, you have this beautiful vision, and you're inspired and you're motivated, and you're walking out the door. So this is the time where I think a lot of that root chakra energy that's been coming on is shaking you up, So you can't just be the comfy, cozy, curl up in your bed and say, well, nobody likes me, nobody wants me, I think I'm going to just eat worms, and I know I've done that too, but, because we have done that. Like I said, it has been very comfortable being a victim or a martyr. And so that was what my coach, Altada, was saying to me. And apparently, if you can visit, through your inner vision, Antares, it is a place where souls go to review their lives, and you have a chance to look at all these patterns, in which I did. She brought that in my face. She shoved it in my face, how much I had loved being a victim and a martyr, and how safe and secure it was. And then I had the vision of me, the future me, and of course there's no time, but it was beautiful. Actually, the picture is in my newsletter. It's a beautiful golden, like, goddess with a golden crown, wearing the crown chakra, which I've been working with a lot, with my Kundalini and my Christ star, wearing like my crown chakra very high up, which is something I have learned how to do. I was taught that, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'll talk about the Kundalini thing, but I'm sorry, it's been called back to me. And, I just also, with my medical conditions, I wasn't taking on my thyroid, and then I got in trouble, and so I've had to take it religiously. But when I was like hypothyroid, I was very heavier, and I would just like lay in bed and, just take life really, really easy. And it was a period that I needed to do that. Actually, I did a lot of writing, or I wrote, my book, and finished up many other books, and did all that stuff just, in my bed. But now it's like, oh, I can't stay in that. It's like the energy is so intense. So many of you may be feeling that too, that the energy is like pulling you out of your bed, pulling you out of your comfort zone, pulling you, out of your root chakra, or purging your root chakras, all your chakras. So it's an intense time. And I think it's a good time too to review your life in this corridor. I said the other day that December, really, it's a trinity. The month is 12, and it's a corridor into the next thing, which is the new beginning of the new earth, which is starting in January. And it's a good time to not feel, to choose to be, a victor, not a victim. And it's a good time to just make all these unconscious programs that you've been running, like victimization, martyrdom, never quite, actually sabotaging yourself. That was another thing, because sometimes it's in fact it is, we are the ones that are moving against us. And that's another point I really wanted to make, because it's really easy to get really angry. And I have been, as I see what they're doing with the World Wide Web, just, making you get verifications upon verifications, and this kind of code and that kind of code. So you can't even get to your own intellectual material that's placed on the internet for people to see. You can't get to your finances. You can't get to, your own, your resources. And of course, you're putting all the resources are on inside the internet right now, which means, there's a distance between you and them. So big, strong lesson right there. And that is happening. So, the question is, and I'm getting an aha right now as I say this, how are you going to be a victor? Because they're doing that. And you can get all pissed off about it. You can get angry. You can say that's not fair and this and that. And of course it's not, because the parasites are really trying as hard as they can to hold on to whatever they can. And they've really lost the organic life. They've lost, the sun's doing its thing and it's spiking things. And I heard someone say it's so true. The gold is going up with the solar flares. So because gold and silver are something that are not, they're real. They're not artificial like Bitcoin. I always say crypto, they're not artificial constructions. They're real. So they are moving onto the new timeline, which is where the Krystala spiral, which is where all the organic, life is going. So that's why, a lot of people are stacking right now. And I'm getting, clear about that because I've had my stuff in the internet. So, there's a lot of signs. Maybe you're getting it, that you want to, you have the internet, but, they can not send you a code. It's that simple. And it's getting really, really hard to get those codes, especially if you choose to live outside of the boundaries of the United States, so which is freedom in itself. So, wow, I said a lot right now, mouthful, but it's time to really construct your life out of your comfort zone, to stop trusting the institutions and that we've been raised with, the government, the bank, the financial institutions, the educational, the medical ones. And I know it's kind of scary, but and you need to move at your own pace, but you need to really get the hell out of there because they're crumbling. They are really crumbling, and I'm going to be very frank about that. And I think some of us have this year's kind of been holding on to that because that's part of the old story and we're finishing up with it. Many of us are just doing things that we need to finish up with, but you really have to be a victor, to be a winner this time. And to, you can't just sit there and complain about things. You can't put down, the leaders, and the financial, the bankers, and this and that, because there is a way out, and we're being shown it intuitively. So we're going to have to really have faith in that, in our guidance, in our inner guidance, and have the courage to step outside of our comfort zone, and live our lives in freedom, on the path of joy, on the true organic timelines of the Krystala spiral. It all sounds really good, and I'm always saying that. But, it's going to be a little scary at first. There's going to be some root chakra issues because you're going to be moving out of institutions that you've trusted, currencies that you've trusted, people that you've trusted, relationships that you've trusted. I mean, that's what's happening. And those are old stories, aren't they? Of course you're going to have to move out of them. Is it easy? No, hell no. It's very, very challenging. But, we've got so much help, got so much grace. We really, really do. You have to do the work yourself, but, we're getting guidance. We're getting, hopefully my words are inspiring you. And there's so many other people like me. We're all dropping pebbles. And then, we're becoming leaders, and then we're turning around making other leaders. And that's how it's going to work. And, I met a gentleman the other day. He's like, but, nothing's changed. He's looking outside himself at the 3D physical world. And I said, everything's energy, and the spikes in the Schumann resonance and the flashes and flares of the sun and the golden metal markets, corresponding to that, all prove how powerful energy is, because it's affecting our economy. It's affecting the face of our earth. It's also creating a lot of, we have geoengineered stuff, but we have some natural stuff where Mother Earth is just expanding and purging and ascending along the lines of her, aurora platforms up into her mother galaxy of Andromeda. So, lots is happening. Lots of stuff's going on. And of course, it's going to be uncomfortable. So that's where you have to just learn to have your own tools to do your best to stay relaxed and calm and to make decisions from an intuitive level, to start trusting yourself yourself to start surrendering and trusting the universe, infinite God source, and your, star family, your guardian families, those, the highest help that you can possibly get. And we'll get through this. We will. Okay, so I've done a mouthful, and I hope that helps you. Love to you, and I'll talk to you the next time I get something that needs to be downloaded and shared. Ciao for now.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.